So what do you do for cigar breath? Nothing.
Never had anyone complain about it.
When I got home last week, kissed the wife before we fell asleep. She was like, that's bad tonight. She said, did you smoke a different cigar than what you normally smoke? I was like, yes, that was a new one. I had never smoked that one before. She was like, let's move that one out of the rotation.
You took that one off the list.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Long stick.
Check the cigar breath after this one, then.
I will have to do that. We'll see. But it probably didn't help that I ate ice cream on the way home too.
Do they have a cigar flavored ice cream?
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, I thought you were gonna go the opposite of that.
You should check this out.
So we bought.
I'm sure they have an ice cream flavored cigar.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So after much debate between myself and Clint, actually more inter-debate than Clint debating me, we have Faustino's tonight. I bought 2, Connecticut, medium blend. We'll see. So far, so good. I smoked a chocolate one the other night after dinner. That one was nice. But I'm not a flavored cigar guy, so it had to have been a dessert.
I'll do vanilla. That's about it.
So I'll keep you updated as we go.
Okay. I like it so far.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
The experience was much better this time when I went in.
That's good.
But
give them another shot.
They don't have bands on their very many banded cigars.
Mm-hmm.
They did have a few, but they were not the flavor that I like. So stayed away from it. Today's Memorial Day for all the people who listen that are in the service or have had family members that have served. Thank you for your service.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate the ability to have our freedom because of it.
For sure. Do anything fun this weekend?
Yeah, actually, we went to, we had graduation on Thursday.
Yeah.
Not as emotional as I thought it was going to be, but also very emotional. It was,
Your
not
oldest kid's graduating, you didn't think it was going to be that emotional?
Yeah, well, I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting the feeling of joy, if that makes sense. I was expecting sadness, and I didn't feel very much sadness. Sadness for the end of a chapter, but the beginning of the next chapter I'm very, very excited for her and for us. As we move into a different phase of parenting, that's going to be fun.
Parenting an adult.
But then also, she has a plan. So I'm pretty excited for her. Pretty excited for the plan that she has. It's a good one. So then I attended a wedding yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. It was hot. It was like 96 degrees at the wedding, but it wasn't unbearable. So, but it was a beautiful wedding. I can't imagine, and this doesn't just go for this particular wedding that I attended, but also like I see images of former athletes, former students that get married. I can't imagine how much it costs to have these venues and what the overall cost is. I can't imagine.
We didn't do any of that.
Neither did we. Got married in a church,
Right. Not many people do that anymore.
which is odd to me.
It has changed.
And I can't decide if it's by the choice of the church or the choice of the person getting married.
Yeah.
Like if the church we attended, if somebody was like, "Hey, I would like to get married here," what would they say?
They do.
They
Yeah.
do? Okay.
That's where we were married.
Okay.
So
But most churches,
I don't think churches like to do them anymore. Like big facilities, right? Like you think back in the day when you had a chapel and, that's all you're doing. Now it's these huge, like, not everybody obviously, but a lot of churches, 500-700 seat auditoriums,
Right.
pretty run of the mill, pretty normal. Who's inviting that many people to their wedding?
Me. I don't remember how many invitations we sent out, but this was also 21 years ago.
Yeah.
And somehow we ended up, so First Baptist Rockwall,
Mm-hmm.
the old sanctuary that's where we got married, it was completely packed.
Mm.
I was the first grandchild to get married on both sides.
Mm.
And I was the first like extended cousin to get married on both sides. So like everyone came.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I was the first one of that generation within my dad's cousins and my mom's cousins to get married. So there was a lot of people there.
After a while, it gets kind of run of the mill.
Yeah. I don't remember a whole lot, if I'm being honest. Like I remember my wife walking down the aisle. I do remember that. But after that, don't really remember much until...
I don't either.
And I was not inebriated either. We did not. We were in a very conservative Baptist church. There was no alcohol.
No, I don't remember much at all. We had a great song. Some friends did a song. Yeah, that was good. That was good. I remember coming down the aisle. And then we hung out at the reception for a little bit, but we were the first ones to leave. Which I think that's kind of normal, but we didn't stay very long.
Really?
We're like, let's go. Y'all have fun. We're out.
We stayed until after dinner last night, and the bride and the groom hadn't even started dancing yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we have little kids, so we were trying to get home to that.
Yeah.
I wasn't planning on it being as long as it took. But it was a multicultural wedding, which was cool. I'd never been a part of that. So there's a translator there, which was amazing. That they did a great job with that. And then they did some traditional Latin American things along with the wedding. So that took a little bit longer, but not just. I just hadn't planned that out. But it was amazing. It was cool to be a part of that. Never been a part of something like that. So it is wedding season, though.
It is.
Do you get invited to a lot of weddings?
Not really.
Me either.
But I also think I'm a little bit in a phase where we don't have a lot of people getting married. Okay? Kind of comes and goes, right?
Right.
But at this age, all of our friends are married. Our kids' friend groups aren't there yet, so.
This was a friend of mine, you know him, and first marriage. And it was amazing. It was amazing. I'm thankful I got to be a part of it, just even as an observer and a guest. But yeah, I would imagine that that'll probably change for me as my daughter gets a little bit closer to that age.
Yeah.
Been a conversation, that's for sure. Don't worry, it's coming for you too, bud. Not in a bad way. Just conversation, you know.
We had a good weekend. We did the boat on Saturday. Couldn't boat today. Weather, rain, cloudy. It's not really. Now, we got in the water Saturday. It was great because it was hot and the sun was out.
Right.
It has to be this time of year. Like every part of the country has their different opening to boat season. And here in North Texas, you can usually get in the water Memorial Day weekend, but it's still pretty chilly. Like the water's still pretty chilly. So, for instance, the Thursday before, like this past Thursday, it was cloudy. We did a boat thing, but we did not get in the water. We sat on the floats and sat in the boat, and it was still fun. But Saturday, mid-90s, upper 90s, which makes a difference. So we got in the water then. Sunday, my youngest, we had our birthday party. Now our youngest is 5, so we're bringing up the rear. So that was a big day. And then, of course, today I pretty much just worked because it was just a rainy, cold day.
Yeah. We went and saw my folks out to their place for a few hours. It was nice. So the stars are down 3-1.
2-1.
2-1, excuse me. The last two games, though, they just seemed outmatched. They seemed
Had some injuries.
Yeah. And that slashing call at the end of game 2, I mean, if that's not a major penalty, I don't really. I mean, again, I know we are not the hockey podcast.
Definitely not.
But it sure did look like a major penalty to me.
It did. I think they play tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow's game 4. Tomorrow, in reality, is game 7.
Right.
I think if they win tomorrow, they got a chance to win the whole thing.
Yep.
If they lose tomorrow, even though it just puts them down 3-1, they're not going to go win 3 games in a row.
No.
So if they lose tomorrow, series is over. If they win tomorrow, I give them a 75% chance to win the thing and go to the Stanley Cup. I feel very, for some reason, it's just tying the series up. If they win tomorrow, 2-2, but I feel very confident if they win tomorrow, then and come back to Dallas that we have a good shot. Yeah.
I mean, there were little blips here and there where I thought, okay, maybe we can put one in the net. But when I don't remember the goalie's name for Edmonton, but when he made that phenomenal save where he jumped across the goal in the end of the first period, beginning of the second period, it was a wide open net, and he just threw himself across the goal.
Yeah.
And blocked it. And I was like, man, it's not our night.
No, they won both of those games. And I feel like as fun as game 1 was to watch, Stars didn't win that game. Edmonton lost that game.
Game 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they just lost it in the third period. So.
Yeah.
I'll be watching tomorrow night.
Me too. I'll be tuned in. We're in summer mode, which means
School's out.
School's out, but also like it was such a, with the being a senior year and then also a long year for us. I mean, they're always a little bit long, but this year seemed to be a little bit more. And we've been just relaxing. I did a little bit of work on Friday because we had Friday off too, but we've been just moving at a slow pace, and then we'll hit the cleaning. We do this weird thing where like the last month of school, we just pick up after ourselves. We don't like deep clean because we know summer's coming. And so like the second week of summer, which would be technically next week,
right?
I just go into full cleaning.
Yeah.
I'm like, get out of the way. If you haven't touched it this entire school year, it's going in the donation pile.
Yep.
So I got a haircut for graduation.
You don't do your own?
Well, normally I do. So shout out to KP the barber. He listens. He cuts my son's hair. And I was telling him, I was like, man, my lip, it just feels like it's under constant attack of being tickled. And he was like, what are you talking about, you weirdo? And he was like, no, your mustache looks really good. He was like, I can line it up for you. And so I sit in the chair after my son gets his done. And
now you're making me self-conscious.
I know. No, my wife doesn't like it. She wants me to keep it over my lip.
Oh, no.
So I'll grow it out. It doesn't bother me enough to be like
that.
that.
Have a walrus look over there.
Yeah, then I'm just going to go like this. I'll just push it to the side. So I don't mind. But I sat down, then he lined my cheeks, which there's not a whole lot here anyways. And then so he was like, I'll just clean up your neck. So then he cleans up my neck. So the next thing I know, he's just doing the whole
I need to go see this guy because I could use somebody to work on my beard a little bit.
Yeah. He's a great guy. And he graduated a couple years ago from Caddo. And so he's been cutting my son's hair. He does a great job. Got some sensory stuff that he deals with. So he's very patient. He knows him. He's known him for a long time since he was a baby. So he takes his time and listens. And then I get to sit there and chat with him, which is nice. I ended up being there like almost 2 hours because I was just talking.
Yeah. I do my own most of the time, but I could use somebody to help out. We have hair is a big deal in our house, even though I don't have any besides my beard. But we have 2 biracial kids, and that's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
And so like my wife is amazing. So with our son, that's a different experience because there's culture with the barbershop.
Right.
And so I'm a white dad. Take my biracial son to the barbershop so we can have that cultural experience.
Right.
Which is a whole experience, and his hair needs special treatment like that. So there's a couple that we use, but really just one main barbershop. So he starts to have that experience.
Here local?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that's fun. But then my wife does our daughter's hair.
Okay.
And it's she has learned so much all on her own, talking to other black women and also watching a lot of YouTube videos. And like, we have so much. I mean, this girl has a huge, not just a huge basket of hair product, all for her hair.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. Like the things that she can do with it. I'm so impressed. But it is such an art.
100%. Well, my oldest daughter has very, very curly hair.
Yeah.
And so it's almost the same texture. as a mixed child. You gonna look at that?
I'm gonna pull up a radar. We're geared somewhere. We do have some storms rolling in.
But we went through product after product after product after product before she finally found something that worked. And she still struggles with it at times.
It's just right on the edge.
Okay.
Never know. Texas, spring storms.
So arguably the biggest United States sporting event happened over the weekend. Do you watch the Indy 500?
I do not.
Me neither. I want to. Like I want to get into auto racing. But I just
I was at
can't
one
get into
time,
it.
like growing up and everything. I was a big NASCAR fan. But I think we talked about this whenever Daytona happened. Like, I knew 3 or 4 drivers, and that was it. And they were the older veteran drivers, you know. I probably knew more than that, but as far as the ones who were leading the pack, I don't know many of them anymore. Just really haven't. It's kind of fallen off.
Well, I had to.
We're not the NASCAR podcast.
No, we're not that either. We're not the that's not NASCAR though, is it? What is it called? Open wheel IndyCar. But I mean, I didn't know any of the guys. Apparently there's a young guy who's like very, very popular amongst the socials. Never heard of him. Never heard of him. I was like, okay. But in other pop culture news, Phil Robinson died yesterday. Today is May the 26th. He died yesterday.
Mm-hmm. And I love that show.
I do too.
And it's just a good, clean show. I like good background shows. Now, when it first came out, like it was like you watched every episode the week it came out, like kind of stayed up. But now it's like such a good rerun, like just to have in the background. It's funny, it's wholesome. Like I can have it on when the kids are around, and they're going to pray at the end. Like, you know, it's.
Well, I also saw that they are coming out with a new series called Duck Dynasty Revival on June the 1st.
Okay. And I like that I can relate to it. Like we're country too, you know? Like so some of the stuff they're joking with and making fun of and doing, I'm like, yeah, I've done those same stupid things growing up, you know? It was such a great show.
Sad to see him pass away though, you know?
Only 79.
Relatively young.
Mm-hmm.
Relatively young. He had Alzheimer's or dementia, one of the two. So as we talked about in the past, we've both dealt with that type of stuff. So, okay, here we go. I want to talk about this thing I saw on TikTok. It was called the Next Generation House Planning, and basically, have you seen it?
I've not.
Okay, so basically, what it is it's a mother-in-law suite for your kid in the late teens, early 20s, because basically housing is so expensive that they now just automatically assume that they're going to live at home.
I can't believe that.
But it's just
I can believe it, but I can't believe it.
So this guy I saw, it was on the socials, and then I've seen a couple of others, and basically what it is the right side or left side of the front of your house has a garage, your car garage, and then on the other side of your house there's a single car garage that then backs in. You can go into like a kitchenette, a room, and a bathroom, and then it's like a shared laundry space, but it has its own entrance, its own exit, but then also an entrance into the main house, which is just a mother-in-law suite is all it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I can't wrap my mind around what I think about this. Now, one, like I want my daughter to stay home as long as she possibly can. Both of my daughters. I want them to never leave my home. Obviously, that's not realistic. But if that's an option, that multi-generational style home, I'm kind of here for it. Because like if my kid wants to stay at home, I'm for it.
I want them all to leave. We're on different ends of the spectrum.
We're on different ends of this because man, I'm here for it. Like I was telling my wife, I was like, man, I would really like to buy a house like this. Because then like I know that my kids are going to be financially stable for a while, and be ready for when they want to move out, they can move out. Mm-hmm. If not, they have their own space. They can come and go as they please. Contribute a little bit. But other than that, but then also, when I'm old enough, I'll just move in there.
Yeah. Switch.
Yeah. A switcheroo.
I think there's a lot of cultures that do the multi-generational housing,
Yeah.
Definitely Charlie and the Chocolate Factory comes to mind.
Yeah, and I think that was a thing until like late 80s.
I feel like that was a thing until, and this is like my lack of international culture, but I feel like it's a bigger thing in the U.S. because we do have so much land and so much space.
That's a valid point.
Like you can, like if you're in, a landlocked, smaller country in Europe, they have land and land that's not, that, doesn't have houses on it, so places to build, but living spaces are smaller. I've been to the UK, I've been to London, I've been to Russia, and what a family of 4 in Russia would live in, a lot of like multi-family housing, not quite apartments, but not quite townhomes, somewhere in the middle.
Right.
A ton of that, where you have a building, but there's like 4 units,
right,
one on each corner, kind of thing.
Right.
And so they're a little bigger, but not quite a townhome size, and it is multi-level. And that's just the norm, and that's actually like both parents working with good jobs, kind of like that's seen as what really high status there.
Well, my mom talks about how her grandmother lived in the upstairs of their house until she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I just wonder if we're going to go back to something like that, especially as the market continues to not allow young people to buy homes.
I wonder if that's actually the case, though. It's always been hard to buy a house.
True. We just went through a period of like 15 years where it was really easy.
I don't know about easy. I mean, rates were lower for 15 years. That makes a big difference.
Right.
Like I think that's the biggest hurdle right now is rates. But, FHA loans have been around for a long time. Rates right now are the biggest deal. But also I know, like, from my job standpoint, what we're starting brand new associates at straight out of college.
Right.
And it's a wage big enough to buy a house. I mean, not anything. And some of them do. A lot of them live in apartments because it's easier and they're all single.
Right.
Some of them have gone out and bought houses. I mean, not super nice or like the nicest neighborhoods, but they got their starter home.
Right.
I'll say this. Our first house we bought, paid $165,000 for. And it was great, good size. And it was a brand new house too. Brand new build. And that thing right now I should have kept it. It's on the market for $380,000. And that was just,
we bought our first one in
10 years ago, maybe.
We bought our first one in
10 years ago.
5 for like $80,000, and they sold it not too long ago for $320,000.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not worth it. No, they didn't change it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it literally looks exactly the same. I think they might have used the exact same photos that we sold it to them in. And I'm like,
that's funny.
Again, I'm in hindsight being what it is. We should have just kept it. But
rates being as high as they are make it hard for people to buy a house whenever the rates were, 2% and 3% for 15 years. After the housing crisis, whenever they dropped it down, the Fed funds rate down to 0, and which put mortgage rates at 2.5 to 3.5%. I mean, 4% was a pretty good rate. Now, they're still 7s. So,
yeah, we
and that difference from 3 to 7 is huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Well, we were looking at, like, we always look at Realtor.com or Zillow or whatever, and so we send houses to each other of houses that we like.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one day, but I sent one my wife sent me one this morning, and it was like $550, something like that. It was like $4,200 a month.
Yeah,
that's outrageous. I wonder how long it will take for the market to adjust, though, or if it will.
Anecdotally, like big picture, housing has come down a little bit, but it's not going to come down to where it was. I think we talked about this way early on. I don't know that we're ever going to see rates that low again because, like we talked about, it gives the Fed no room to maneuver when inflation starts going up.
Right.
And that's where we find ourselves right now, where the Fed's like, no, we're not going to lower rates yet. like we have a couple times, but that's all we're doing.
Right.
Because the economy is still inflationary. The Fed is responding to tariffs as inflation. That's how they're viewing them. That's a topic for another time or another podcast or whatever. But they're not lowering rates. So I think you can see, I think we'll get back to a time whenever you can go get a home loan at 4%. I don't think we're ever going to get like a lot of the people whenever we bought this house in the middle twos. Because if mortgage rates are in the middle twos, then the Fed funds rate and Wall Street Journal Prime and commercial lending rates are down around 0 to 0.5%. It's low.
Yeah.
Your Fed funds rate's 0. What are you going to cut?
Nothing. Well, you don't have any control of the market.
So,
yeah. So I also wanted to touch just on Texas bills, just briefly. I would like to do, we haven't really talked about it, but it's on the run sheet, but I would like to kind of do a bigger conversation once this session closes. Kind of do just a whole big Texas legislation podcast. Because I think that some of the bills will change between now and the end of the week.
Sure.
So I kind of would like to do that.
Okay.
Because I think that we wouldn't do it justice, and then we'd have to just go back and have another conversation about it. So I'd like to do that if we can.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. When does this? I know it's June.
I think it's June 1st, but I think all bills have to be on the floor to be voted on by the 27th, which is tomorrow.
Okay.
So, and then there is a period of amendments, and then the 1st is the end of it.
Okay.
And then I think Abbott can sign and veto up to the 5th.
Okay.
So we'll see how that rolls. There's still so many things that are being discussed, and especially with, education and THC and,
There's a lot, and for our non-Texas listeners, I mean, a lot of the things Texas is talking about are things other states are dealing with and talking about.
Correct.
I mean, everything's different, and different states have different priorities, but Texas is different than many states in that we have a legislative session every other year, not every year, and it is short, 6 months basically, a little less.
Now, while we're talking about other states, Nebraska passed the first state, and several other states are in the process of following suit, of banning soda, energy drinks from SNAP. And I think that that's, on the surface, to be perfectly clear, I think that that's a good thing. It kind of follows the presidential agenda. It follows along the same lines of RFK and what he's trying to do. I think that if we want a healthier overall population, this is the first step. Now, I don't like the infringement on the people, but you're also taking a government handout. And so it's one of those things like what we talked about at the very beginning of the podcast, not today, but like episode 1 through 5 about freedom and what that looks like. But if you're asking for a handout from the government in food, whatever, I think they're allowed to tell you what you can and can't buy.
Yeah.
Now, also Trump came out this week and talked about Section 8 housing. Did you see this? I didn't put this on the run sheet, but he literally came out and said, Section 8 housing is for the military, veterans, and then extreme low income. And so it'll be very interesting to see what happens with that as the agenda changes and ebbs and flows. Because I don't think he can get that through the legislative branch.
I could come down on either side of that argument. I could make you a good argument for, like we're saying, restricting the types of foods that you can buy with government entitlement money. And then I'd come down on the other side of the compassionate human side of like these kids, never going to have. I mean, but, it is what it is.
We really didn't talk too much about the food dye ban. Mm-hmm. And we made a comment about the meme, but it'll be very interesting as these companies, we were actually talking about the table at the lunch table today, how these companies adjust. I think that it's not going to be as hard of an adjustment as people think because they're already doing it for other countries.
Yeah.
So they'll just shift what they were doing in Europe or other said countries to what they're going to do here. So they already have the production lines. They already have all the manufacturing stuff.
That's the thing.
It won't be as difficult as people think.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, it's not reinventing the wheel to take food dye out of our
Right.
foods. Like, they're already doing it where they're selling overseas because other countries have had these rules.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to watch. I do find myself looking more at the ingredients of food
Mm-hmm.
because I'm curious. Not really more of like, oh, we're not going to eat that. We're not going to eat this. Because we kind of already do that. We talked about that. But I have been looking because it's like, okay, well, how are they going to adjust a Cheeto, right?
Mhm.
How are they going to adjust like a Gatorade?
Mm-hmm.
Because those things are full of dye.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting as we move forward.
Yeah, I like it. And I think it's a hard thing to argue against, and you haven't seen a lot of that. You saw a lot of opposition to RFK's nomination, a lot of talk about vaccines, but the things that he's actually come in and made priority, like the banning of the food dye, it's one of those things where it's interesting the way the party has turned and how politics change because you're essentially introducing more regulation on a free market.
Right.
And it's the Republican side doing it. But then it's like, I don't really have a problem with that. It's like the EPA, like to switch it over to something else, gets a lot of negative press in conservative circles, right? We want to, let's get rid of the EPA and all this kind of stuff. But like, no, like, sure, there's overreach there and way too much red tape and government regulation and it can go way overboard. But also like that they have some clean water and clean air standards.
Right.
Like I do look at China that doesn't have those things and their smog and toxic air problem. And I don't want that here because we do live sort of in the country, but we also live really close to a major metropolitan area.
Right.
So it's one of those things where kind of both end. Like I like there being some of that to protect us. I think that's good because if there wasn't, then you would have companies just dumping whatever they wanted to dump into the waterways and like putting whatever they wanted to put out into the air. If there was no one to tell them not to. In a free market, a company is going to do those things. They're going to do what makes them most profitable, and cleaning the air and cleaning the stuff before they dump their waste is not profitable. So they have to have someone tell them not to do it. But at the same time, it's like, then we need a stopping point, right?
Well, and that
it only
line,
goes so far.
that line of balance is difficult. It's difficult. I recognize that too. Like there's no clear picture.
Like there's in Texas, like down around the coast, we have a lot of chemical plants down around the coast, Houston area, and then towards the Gulf. There's a lot of chemical plants, and just recently I saw a news special. It was a national news special, but it was highlighting a town close to Houston where they were putting in basically these seining nets and pulling out these microplastics and little plastic tiny beads out of this water supply. And like, I don't like that. Yes, I do want some government regulation to keep that from happening. Rogan's had some good episodes because of Rogan Bros. Might as well bring it up on microplastics. And so I'm not as Rush Limbaugh would say, I'm not an environmentalist wacko. That's what he calls them. Whenever he had his show and all the time, that's what he always would call the big EPA guys. But we do particular things to keep plastics out of our home as well.
Right.
Some of those bad plastics we don't deal with.
Right.
And like it's not. There's balance to it.
I just wonder when we get, this will be after our lifetime, when we get 100 years removed from the use of plastics as we see today, what are they going to say about that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is in a vacuum. I understand that. But like, I have so many people that I know that are going through IVF and have odd cancers at young ages. And I don't know if it's just because like it's becoming more prevalent in the news, like people are talking about it, and I'm listening to Rogan and I'm listening to, you know, people like I don't know, just listening, and I continue to hear like, man, this is not good for you. This is not good for you. This is not good for you. Here's how to fix it. Here's how we fix it. And I just can't help but wonder if we're already seeing a dramatic effect of that, of the way we live, and the things that we consume. So then when I see someone push back against it, that's a Democrat that was for this 5 to 10 years ago, that supported it, but now they're against it, or even last year, it just confuses me.
Yeah, for sure. And we don't know everything. I saw a story a while back about whenever x-rays are first invented, the nurses would calibrate the x-ray machine every single day by taking an x-ray of their hand. And then like nubs of their fingers started falling off. Like, you don't know everything. Like, we have these great advances of technology, whether it's just the way we use plastic. Plastic has been great. Like, I'm glad everything doesn't have to be in a glass jar.
Right.
Like, that's a good thing, right?
Right.
And plastic tubing, like everything that we've done with plastic, that's a great thing. But you don't know everything. Like, it takes time before we realize, oh, dang, like, this is not, this much of it or used in this way is not good for us, actually. A lot of times, unfortunately, humanity is like the guinea pig. Like, they'll run tests on things, but you don't really know until it's widely used, widely circulated. So I just say to everyone on either side of the fence on these things, like, just take a step back, and we got to admit we don't know everything. And so for anybody out there that, like, I've known people for a long time, and I used to think it was a little bit off the wall, who took red dye and red 40 and stuff out of their diets years ago. And I was like, okay,
yeah,
health nut, you know. But now it's like,
you wackadoo.
I don't know. It's like, now it's like, oh, that's pretty dang smart. Turns out, you know.
Well, I've told you before, my grandfather was way ahead of this. Mm-hmm. He took everything out of his diet a long time ago because it gave him a headache. Everything that he ate that was a processed food would give him a headache. And so he just stopped eating it. Mm-hmm. Like, he only drank Pepsi that had sugar, like real sugar. Mm-hmm. He only drank water. Mm-hmm. He only ate. Now, the only processed food that he would eat was a cake donut from a very specific store, but it was actually made of just flour, sugar, and there was no actual processing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just a cake baked donut. That was the only processed thing I ever remember him eating. Yeah. Now, he did love imitation crab. He would eat that all the time. I'm like, how is this good for you? But he did a good job.
A little here, a little there. Yeah. And you have it all in moderation. Yeah, we pay attention to. I think whenever we had the RFK episode, we talked about this. But like, I'll go buy. There's a certain kind of chips that we buy at Costco, and like, you can get the box that has all the individual bags. Like, there's a million ingredients in every single one of those bags. But then I'm going to say it's like kettle chips. Like, literally, if you look on the back of the kettle chips, it's like potatoes, canola oil, sea salt.
Yep.
That's it.
I literally looked at that today. That was one of the things that I looked at.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay.
Well, I looked at pickles. I looked at mustard and ketchup. The only thing
Ketchup's got a lot of sugar.
The ketchup that we had was not.
Okay,
it did not. It did not have sugar. But it may have been sugar-free on purpose, but I'm not sure about that.
And then you have to watch that, because like, my wife can't have the sugar-free stuff because it's not actually sugar-free. It's the aspartame.
Right.
Or one of the modifications of that, and that gives her migraines.
Right.
So she doesn't do any of the sugar-free zero drinks or anything like that either.
Right. It's just well, I always thought I was allergic to tree nuts. Like, I had this really bad outbreak about 10 years ago. So I've just avoided tree nuts for the last 10 years.
Didn't you get from a cigar? We talked about that?
Yeah, it was they were pine nuts. The leaf was somehow rolled in a pine nut, and I didn't know that was actually a tree nut. Come to find out, I'm highly allergic. I always have been to poison ivy. Well, almonds are a relative of poison ivy. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, I'm too terrified to try pecans because pecans are for a different strain of a tree.
Uh-huh.
I'm terrified to try it. Now, peanuts, I'm fine
Mm-hmm.
because they're a root based.
That's
It's something that I would have never thought of. But like cashews, can't do it.
uh-huh.
Can't do it. If I accidentally get a cashew on accident, like if I'm eating something I didn't know, instantly I have ulcers in my mouth.
My brother-in-law was telling me a couple days ago that he was reading a story about, there's a lot of pushback on seed oils right now.
Right.
And that's like the next frontier thing, because like Red
Right.
40's been around a long time, plastic's been around for a long time now. Seed oils are getting a lot of pushback, but I think because of Red 40 issues being true, plastic issues being true, now I'm like listening to the seed oils more than I would have listened in the past.
Right.
But he was saying that this article was saying you have a much higher chance, or I guess a much lower chance of sunburn if you don't consume any seed oils. It does something to the cells in your skin that you burn more easily if you consume seed oils, which is a really odd side effect and maybe something that people don't care about as much, but it's something I'm starting to look into and be like, okay. So
I mean, not to get too religious.
you
but
can buy a big bucket of beef tallow, and I think I'm just about to go buy one. And just like that's going to be
that's going to be it.
That's going to be it.
But not to get too religious, but isn't it amazing like how our body functions just perfectly? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's amazing to me. And the series that our pastor is preaching on has been somewhat eye-opening for me, because there were things that he's talking about heaven, and we're not a religious podcast either. But but it's been like the things that weren't supposed to be here that came after the fall of man still have a direct effect on us, even within our bodies in modern technology. And so that's something that's very fascinating to me. And as we continue to research and find out, hey man, maybe we just need to eat animals. Maybe we need to try our best to, like, olive oil or, avocado oil is very healthy for you. And that those types of things are better than sunflower seed oil.
What it is, though, is, and this is something that kind of falls back into the SNAP food issue, is like eating healthy is expensive. My wife and I just had this conversation this weekend because we were doing our groceries and talking about the different things you're going to buy. And it's like, dadgum, like buying healthy food is expensive. And buying whole foods is expensive versus processed foods.
Well, and the processed foods are fillers.
Right.
It's just full of fillers, and it takes away that hunger
Yep.
for that moment. But it's definitely not good for you.
We do pretty good on whole foods only, but we're not 100% consistent with it.
Right.
Like we'll throw the processed foods in there. Like today, I had bacon and eggs this morning, and it was the good organic bacon from Costco.
Same.
And for lunch, I had frozen veggies and chicken thighs. I have this thing on, like, every Sunday I'll throw a whole Costco package of chicken thighs on the Blackstone and cook it all up.
Okay.
Chicken thighs just so much better to reheat because they have that fat in them.
Right. Agreed.
That's what I've eaten today. I did have a protein bar, so that is processed.
I had a brat boiled in beer. It was fantastic.
You do have some Wisconsin heritage. That Wisconsin heritage is coming out.
If I had some cheese curds,
cheese, brats, and beer, right?
that's right. It's good for you. Actually, it's terrible for you.
I'm pretty sure it's not good at all for
It's
you.
not good for you at all. But it's really taste fan.
Well, it depends on how you define good.
Yes. There's a lot of flavor. But yeah.
I'm proud of myself because we had a kid birthday yesterday, so we have that extra big hunk of birthday cake left over. And it's like, I'm telling my kids, I'm like, I need y'all to eat all of this. Like, or I just need to throw it away. But I didn't eat any of it today. I'm doing my best. But I don't really have a sweet tooth, but there are certain sweets that I love. And that store-bought birthday cake, like from Walmart, oh my gosh.
Mine is ice cream.
It takes a lot of self-control. See, I don't even like ice cream.
Oh.
So that's a good thing for me.
I could sit and eat a whole gallon of it.
The two things it's hard for me to do is if we have leftover birthday cake, it is incredibly difficult for me to resist that. But my wife and the kids were home today because school's out, and like they would hold me accountable.
Right.
But like if I was home alone today and there was school, that cake would be gone. Like I would have eaten a quarter of a sheet cake today. It would be gone. The other thing is I love Snickers. And so if I'm like, no matter where I'm at, Walmart, Home Depot, wherever, checking out, and they have the Snickers bar right there, it takes a lot of willpower for me not just to grab one.
Well, I mean, it does have milk and caramel and peanuts.
The fitness
eggs.
podcast I listen to, they say the Snickers bar is actually pretty dang close to some of these protein bars that are out there. Like if you try to go find a good protein bar, like I read the ingredients, it is so hard. Like they have so much added sugar.
Right.
And like, so like, yeah, something advertised as a protein bar out there is actually probably pretty close to a Snickers.
Right.
But make America healthy again. Snickers and cake.
This was on the run sheet a while back. By the way, are you marking as we're going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm trying.
I know we said we weren't going to talk about Texas stuff, but I want to talk about the cell phone ban for teenagers.
Yes.
You've seen this.
I think it's going to pass.
I think it's going to pass too. It already passed in Virginia, Florida.
Not the cell phone ban, the
social media.
Social media ban.
But Florida, Virginia, and one other East Coast state have passed no cell phones in schools.
Okay.
So this goes along the lines with what Texas is doing with the social media, and cell phones aren't far behind. I wouldn't be one bit surprised if, I know it's not going to be a educational legislative executive order next time, whatever the things that Abbott has on the list. But I wouldn't be one bit surprised if that falls into that category, or if they maybe even throw it in with the social media stuff, because they could do that. But I wonder what effect that has on the kids' mental health. Now, go with me here. We're pretty hard. We're pretty strict on our kids' cell phone policy uses, right? We do the best we can, and we talked about this a couple of episodes ago. Maybe we briefly discussed it. But I wonder for those kids who have had zero monitor on their cell phones, what this is going to do to them mentally.
Yeah.
And I can't help but wonder if it's going to have a bad effect to start. Because you're literally, that dopamine hit that they're getting every time they scroll through that, or that dopamine hit that they're getting from everything that goes into it, is so addictive. Right. But I can see in schools, I can't really talk too deep about what happened to me this year just yet, but I'm definitely going to go back to how I was 3 or 4 years ago when I taught a tested subject next year. No cell phones in my room, period. End of statement. You walk in with it, it either goes in your bag or goes in your pocket. If I see it, I'm taking it. Yeah. Because I've laxed a little bit on that over the last 3 or 4 years because I went away from teaching a tested subject. But now that the state has made every subject essentially a tested subject with the TIA, there will be no phones in my room. None. Because you can't risk what may happen. Yeah. And so not to be a jerk about it, but it's like I'm going to go back to how I was when I taught a tested subject a couple years ago. So, but it'll be very interesting if they ban them across the board. What I would like to see them do is what they do at comedy clubs and concerts.
Put them in a bag?
Put them in a bag.
Yeah.
You walk in, you put it in the bag. When you leave, we already have a quote unquote media specialist on every single campus. You walk in, you put your phone in the bag. When you leave, even if you're leaving early, you get the bag, you get it out, and you're assigned a spot. Now, it's expensive. Those bags are $50, $60, $70 a piece. Hold on. I want to try to see what the Twitch is saying. Yeah, parents are going to have to parent, and then they'll have to spend more time as a family unit, and those bags are expensive. But it'll be interesting to see how they tell the schools they have to manage this, both with the social media, because as we talked about before, if the school finds out that the student has social media, how does that look and how does that function? But then,
I don't know if the school's going to have to enforce that. Like, isn't that on the social media company to enforce? I think the law is going to be written to where they have to do age verification to have the account. Which I don't know how easy it is to get around that.
Right. But I don't either. I think that you're going to have to see more parents parent. They're going to force their hand. And you're always going to have the kids that aren't monitored. So those kids are going to always be there. But it'll just be very interesting as this all plays out, how the legislative or how the law is written and how they're going to manage it. I mean, I guess you'd have to show some sort of identification, right?
Yeah.
That real ID coming in handy.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about, in the case of an emergency, kids not having phones?
No. I just think that if you go to a private school, okay, so we're talking private versus public sector. Most private schools already have a policy of no cell phones. And either you follow it or you don't. If you don't like it, leave. So with this new ESAs coming about, I mean, if you don't like it, your kid doesn't have to go to school here.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting. I don't know. In an emergency situation, everyone needs to be focused on who is being and giving directions. So if my mind goes automatically to a school shooter. If something like that happens and students are calling their parents, it makes it more chaotic for what's happening.
I guess there's plenty of avenues for first responders to be notified of it. That is what I was getting at.
Are you talking about
Calling 911?
Yeah, so the teachers will still have theirs.
Yeah.
Well,
and the teachers, I don't know if, I'm sure every district doesn't have this, but I know ours, the teachers have an app on their phone that can lock down the school.
Right.
Because that's happened by accident.
Yeah. Well, and
I'll tell you this, it was a few weeks ago. We have an elementary school in our neighborhood that our kids go to, obviously. It's in our neighborhood. And I was coming home. My youngest was home that day because we had to take her to the doctor. She was sick. And so we got home from the doctor. We're getting out of the truck. And I hear sirens. And from our house, just around the corner, you can see the main drag coming into our neighborhood, one of the main roads. And I feel like every police car and fire truck I've ever seen in my life was flying down this main road towards the school. And your heart just sinks.
Right.
I've got 3 other kids there while I have my youngest with me. And it's like, that's not chasing a speeding car. I've just seen 6 police cars and a couple fire response vehicles, not the big fire trucks, fly at breakneck speed right down this road, lights and sirens and everything. And then, thankfully, school did good with communication. Literally within a couple minutes, we got a mass text that said, everything has, it was accidentally triggered. Everything's fine. It's a non-issue. So, yeah.
It's happened for us too.
Yeah.
It's
happened at other schools. It was just, that was a heart-sinking moment to see those first responders running towards that school.
I just think that it'll be... I don't think there's a scenario that I can think of, and I've thought through this quite a bit. I mean, I've gone through active shooter drills. I've gone through where they fired a gun in a school, like a blank gun, like with blanks. And there's not a scenario that I can think of where a kid needs to be talking on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that just adds more parents coming to the school in a moment where, when I worked at a different district, we weren't too far away from a rail yard. The railroad went right in front of us, and they carried hazmat material right across in front of us. And one day there was an accident. The train hit a car, and it was carrying gasoline or something like that. So we literally had to lock the school down and not let anybody in or out because we had a safe area in the school that was ventilated and had all the proper filtration. And the parents coming into the school to get their kids were actually posing just as much danger to themselves because they're outside.
Right.
So what we had to end up doing is taking all these parents into the building.
Gosh.
So it's one of those situations where the kids were safe in the building. in this scenario. So it's just one of those things where I just feel like it's more of a distraction and a harm than it is a net positive. And I'll be honest with you, most of the time when there's drama, especially in a high school, it comes from the cell phone and social media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of pushback on that.
But it'll be interesting. It'll be fun.
Interesting. So we talked last time about Trump lowering prescription drugs by executive order. A lot of arguments for and kind of a lot of arguments against about creating artificial price ceilings and the butterfly effect that has on the economy, and kind of went down that road. We got a little clarity from that today, or not really today, but this week. He signed the executive order Thursday. I think it's no surprise that the United States spends per capita more than any other developed country. And for countries with our similar economy, we spend about 3 times as much on our prescription drugs as any other economy. That's not talking about like socialism or universal health care. That's talking about just the cost of the drugs themselves. Like whoever's paying for it.
Right.
In the U.S., we're paying about 3 times as much. And what that has a lot to do with is it's not just the drug companies, but also the insurance companies. And of course, their lobbyists that represent them in Washington. They're basically in cahoots with each other, because the drug company can charge kind of whatever they want, because the insurance company will pay whatever they want and pass that on to consumers through higher insurance premiums. And so it's interesting. You have Trump doing something that Obamacare tried to address, so 2 very different ideological presidents looking at the same issue, which makes it come out to say, which makes you realize this is a big issue. This is an issue that needs to be addressed when you have both President Obama and now President Trump saying we need to do something about this. And so I think I come down on the side of yes, do something about it, even with the potential detrimental effects to the economy of introducing price ceilings. But also, like, it brings in some of RFK Jr. because our plan has always been, and our way to address health in our country has always been to medicate first and not address the underlying issues. I'm sure there are great doctors out there. If someone comes in that's overweight and has high blood pressure and things, they're like, hey, you need to take these steps for your health. But it is much easier to take a pill every day than to change behavior. It's almost easier to do anything at all than to change your behavior. And that goes with healthy eating. That goes with budgeting and finance. That goes with any part of your life. It is easier to take a pill, just a little fix-it, a Band-Aid, than it is to change that behavior. And so it will be interesting. I haven't seen this come together yet, but I would be interested to see how involved RFK and his department is with this order of saying, okay, we've got to bring these prices down, but we also have to reduce the demand for these drugs, which is not what any pharmaceutical company wants to hear, or insurance company either.
Right.
But it's a 2-step process. Like, we've got to address the cost issue and the insurance issue, but also address reducing the demand for the product itself.
If you create a healthier population, the demand for drugs goes down.
Yeah.
In every single fashion. Because if you're overweight and your bones hurt because you're overweight, that has an effect, because then you need medicine to, both painkillers and things like that. I think what will happen, hold on, let me rewind a little bit. As I said last week or the week before last, I can't remember when we talked about it. I don't think you should have to pay your entire paycheck to stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you should have to choose whether you're going to eat a healthy meal or eat processed food and take your drug medicine. I don't think you should have to choose between those two things. But I also think they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I think if you are eating unhealthy, then you are going to have to figure out a way to change that behavior. And I agree with you. I think that changing a behavior is way more difficult than just popping that diabetes pill.
Yeah.
And I think that this is not, we said this at the beginning of the podcast. All of these things are maybe not even going to have any effect on you or I. It's a complete mindset shift away from the cheap, easy route.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much cheap long term, but the easy route to something that's difficult to do. And I think that it's hard for people to change. It's hard for people to accept change. And that is something that will be interesting to watch as we continue to move on.
Well, and let's keep coming back to like SNAP foods. Like if you're going to say, hey, if you're on, government assistance for food, but we want you to buy healthier foods and not processed foods, it's going to cost more money. So it's going to cost the government more money.
Right.
And like one of the issues right now, and the biggest issue, is that you can't really address our government debt and spending problem without addressing entitlement. And if you're saying we're going to go do something that's going to increase entitlement spending, like I agree, that's a good thing. Like if someone is on government assistance for food, I don't want them eating just crap. And then they're going to be on government assistance for their health,
right.
More so than they maybe were before. The double-edged sword. Because that's one of the problems with the big, beautiful bill, is that it adds another $5 trillion to the debt ceiling.
Right.
And Rand Paul just came out and said, I ain't voting for it unless we take that out.
Yeah. There's no easy, quick fix to this.
I love how we talk about health and smoke cigars. Just as a side note.
I told this story off air to Clint the other day, but I got griped at, for lack of a better word, for smoking cigars. And I was like, well, this is the only vice I have.
Yeah.
Like, I don't drink.
Again,
I
moderation.
don't drink alcohol. I don't consume drugs. I eat relatively healthy. Literally, the only vice I have is smoking cigars. And you don't even inhale it, so it's not like it's going to affect your lungs. But if you do inhale a cigar, you are a savage.
Yeah.
But I don't like telling people what to do. But at the same time, it's like, if you're going to continue to put things in your body and you're asking the government to help you, then they should be able to tell you what it is, how it works. And the drug manufacturing thing is it'll be interesting, because I don't know what this looks like. That I can remember, I don't know that I have been alive when there's been a price ceiling for something that I can remember. And you maybe you'll be able to correct me. I know in farming there has been.
Those are price floors because they make them, they inflate the price of commodity to make them higher.
Right.
But there have been price ceilings, just not that would have affected us. Like we talked about, rent control is a big one, but that's not something that really affects us. They do have rent control where we live, but it's a much smaller population that lives in those in a rent controlled space, whereas in a large city it's pretty prevalent.
Right. I just wonder how this is going to all work. And he can make an executive order, but that doesn't mean it's going to get through the legislative branch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like
we're
what you
not
said.
challenged in the courts.
Or,
and
and I got sent a TikTok on the socials this week, is like, man, I'm here for everything that Trump has done so far. I support it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen something that has come out in the last 155 days or so that I've just thought, man, I just really don't agree with that. Now, the legislative branch, on the other hand, there's been several things. I'm like, why are you guys doing this?
Yeah.
Why are you guys doing this? Let's hop into the big, beautiful bill. I mean, the Doge cuts, they're not taking hardly any of the recommendations that they gave.
Mm-mm. And it's just not being as effective as it was going to be. And I think that has a lot to do with, you can make things more efficient and we can trim the workforce. And like we said, I mean, Bill Clinton trimmed the workforce more than Trump has by a long shot. But really where it's at are entitlements.
Right.
Like Social Security and Medicare. Like nobody, and that's Josh Hawley's problem with it, is that the big beautiful bill does cut Medicaid some and cuts back on that and restricts it some. And he's like, that's a horrible idea. And he called it political suicide to give tax cuts to businesses on the back of cutting Medicaid. And that's a really cynical way to put it. It's a little bit of what's happening. It's not the only thing that's being cut and the only way it's being paid for, but he has a point as well. But you have to. Like, I was thinking about this today. On a jog, thinking about FDR. Which sounds like a really nerdy thing, but...
Hold on. You don't already think you're a nerd?
Oh, I know I am.
Okay, wait, I was just making sure.
Just confirming.
You literally have a shirt on that says consultant. I have on an Abraham Lincoln shirt.
He's not a fan of the theater.
That's right.
That's hilarious.
We are nerds.
We are nerds. My shirt, though, describes what I do to a T.
Yeah, I like it.
You should read it.
Someone who takes a consultant, and then it has the phonetic sounding. It says noun. Someone who takes the watch off your wrist and proceeds to tell you the time.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's what consultants do. Interpret the data you already have. So anyway, that's my job. But I was thinking about this, like for all the bravery and leadership that FDR showed, getting us, leading us through World War II, not necessarily getting us out of it, as Truman, but after Pearl Harbor and then leading a nation into war. I mean, building airplanes, building ships, like bringing the people to work for the government, for all the good that he did for us in the early 40s. I wonder if the New Deal was not just the ruin of our country. I mean, you think about, it's hard to think about today, like where would we be if we didn't have Social Security? I mean, some people would be in a really bad spot. But if no one ever had it to depend on, some other people would have figured it out. And maybe we would have more multi-generational housing. Because maybe when people retired, they would move back in with their kids who were still working. And maybe that would just be the way it worked out. But Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. The money that I'm paying in right now is not going to be there whenever I retire. The money that I'm paying in right now is going to pay for other people who are retired right now. And that is the definition of a Ponzi scheme. The money that people are withdrawing today from Social Security is not the gains and the principal that they invested over their work life. Like, it is not a profitable investment. So something's got to be done about that because it's not sustainable. And we do keep living longer, and especially if we make America healthy again, we're going to be living longer. But then, like, you can't even talk about raising the retirement age. People just bow up at that. But it's like, y'all, like, look at how the lifespan has increased. How can you not, you're just going to be retired for an extra 10 years now? Like, how is that sustainable? It's not.
I don't have a clear answer for you.
So it's like, it's a mean thing to say we've got to take a look at entitlement. It's really, when it comes on a human level, it's a mean thing. Like, it's not great, but it's not sustainable. So it's like, do you address it in smaller increments now? Or does it all just collapse one day and nobody has it?
So I want to challenge you. So here's what I do with my students whenever they pose a question that I'm not 100% sure of the answer, just like what you said. So I plugged it into ChatGPT. What would have happened if we didn't have the New Deal? It gives me a list of 5 things that we can discuss. We can agree or we can disagree. This is kind of off the cuff. The first thing it says is it would have been a longer, deeper economic depression. Unemployment could have stayed extremely high for much longer. Bank failures might have happened. Deflation happened with falling wages. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Yes. And so let me stipulate, when I say FDR might have ruined us with a New Deal, I'm talking more about Social Security
Appreciate that.
and
by the
social
way.
welfare. The government programs that came out of the New Deal, like the government infrastructure that was built as a part of the New Deal, that's great. We got that. That took people who were doing the war effort. Well, we don't need to be building B-29s anymore.
Right.
So let's go build some other stuff that we need as a country and that we got value from.
Correct.
I got zero issue with that. So I'm good with that one.
Okay, number 2, increase social and political unrest, rise in radical movements, more protests, strikes, and possibly violent uprisings, and pressure for more extreme authoritarian government responses.
Maybe. I mean,
Hypothetical
if
there.
if
That's
people,
a what if,
If
for
people
sure.
are out of work, yeah, there's going to be unrest.
Weaker governmental role in the economy.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I mean, it literally
that's a
says no
positive.
Social Security, unemployment insurance, labor protections,
Yeah.
less government regulations and financial markets, fewer programs to stabilize the economy in future crisis.
Yeah, that's a positive.
Delayed economic recovery,
Yeah,
and then lasting inequality.
lasting inequality.
It says no rural electrification or farm support programs. Workers and poor families left without help, and a wealth gap might have widened even more.
Yeah,
Now those are just 5. I think I only agree with one of the 5.
I'm definitely good on the first one. The last one, I definitely can see that.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like we can talk about again like on the farm side with price floors on like yeah, and then the wealth gap thing for sure. But if we're okay with number 1, that also kind of addresses the wealth gap
Correct.
because it puts people in work. It created a middle class,
Correct.
and then we went into because the government infrastructure projects didn't last forever either.
Right.
But then because of that, it helped build a stronger economy for corporations to come in and then begin hiring those people. And then we had our big factory age throughout 50s, 60s, into 70s. Like, I don't know. I think you could really make a case for what if we just never had the social welfare? That Russell Crowe movie where he's the boxer, Cinderella Man,
Yep.
where he goes and pays back the social welfare money he got.
Yep.
You know, I think it's probably twofold now that we've talked about it. Maybe there's not like the path of just never having any social welfare. Maybe that's not sustainable. Like that's not a viable path.
Right.
But like, could you have controlled that more tightly? Because it seems like it's like anybody who wants it can go out and get it kind of thing. And that's not the way it should be. Like there shouldn't be an incentive for someone not to work. Like there shouldn't be an incentive where if I don't have a job, I can just live on social welfare programs because I'm now below the poverty level and get by with this.
Yeah.
Like there shouldn't be that incentive. It should be like,
Well,
man, if I'm on social welfare, I don't want to be here.
Right.
That should be the push.
But then too, like there has to be a cutoff. So there was a time in our lives, I don't remember if I've talked about it. I know you and I have talked about it, but where like we were on that. We had to have it because we had no other choice, right? Some things happened that were out of our control. We were literally on it for 2 months, and that was it because that's all I could even bear to swallow because it was just like, man, we need this help, get ourselves back on our feet, and let's go. But it has to be like what I've said before. It has to be a hand up, not a hand out, and you can't allow people to just continue and continue and continue and continue, which is part of the problem with the big beautiful bill. One of the things that they're cutting is illegal immigrants from being on social programs, but then also people who are able-bodied workers from being on those programs. If you have the ability to get a job, get a job.
Yeah.
It may not be the job that you like, and it may suck, but then embrace it and get yourself out of it.
Right.
And so it kind of goes back to one of the other things that we've talked about is like just do it. I don't, and that's where I have such a hard time with some of even the conversations we've had today, is because like when you're having to choose, do I need to work a second job so I can help pay for my medicine? That sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It really sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But do you want to take the medicine or do you not?
Yeah, it's a hard thing to pass politically, but if you start cutting off the spigot, like people will find a way. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, most people will find a way. That sounds kind of cruel to say, but you know, when I straight out of like school worked in a restaurant business, people would come in who were on unemployment,
right?
And they want you to sign the little thing that they come in and ask for a job, and like a lot of times I wouldn't sign it, and maybe I was just being jaded, but I'm like, no, like you didn't come in here actually looking for a job. You literally walked in the door and set a piece of paper on the table, wanted me to sign it, saying you come in and asked if we had it. Like, no. Like, go out there and find...
Wait, hold on. People can do that?
Yeah. That's one of the requirements when you're on unemployment is you have to be actively looking for a job. And the way you prove that is you go to businesses and I'm like, we're not even hiring right now. So you're not acting like you're
right.
wasting your time walking in this door. Go somewhere where they actually are hiring, ask them for a job, fill out an application, and actually do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
But they would just get people... They'd go in businesses and just get the manager, whoever, to sign off on their list. And like they got maybe 3 a week. I don't know what it was, what the requirement was. But
interesting.
Once they get that done, then they're well, another week of unemployment because there's nobody hiring.
Huh. And that's still a requirement?
Oh, I mean, I haven't done that in a long time, but
I guess that's why I asked.
Yeah.
But I just think too, like, entitlements are exactly what you said, though. Who I know you wrote. I saw the name on there. Josh Howley said that it was political suicide because you're still cutting.
It's always called the third rail.
Yeah,
don't touch it.
You're cutting your votes.
And Bush almost didn't win his first term because of his lockbox. Al Gore's lockbox, I should say.
That's the first time I've seen this. I just had to deny someone's message. Yeah, that was definitely a bot there. I'll have to tell you what they said offline.
Yeah, I really thought, and we can talk more about it if you want to, my bow around this. I really thought if anybody was going to do something about it, it would have been Trump in this particular administration. But
pause. So now only followers can chat. Didn't expect that. I'll just show it to you. The very bottom, 2 up, maybe 3. So now you have to be a follower. I didn't know that was something that you had to do. So we'll fix it. So, Russia and Ukraine.
Trump said Putin's crazy. I think he's going to be killed for that, by the way. I think they're going to say he doesn't understand global politics and he didn't understand who Putin was because Putin is definitely the enemy to the left, right? I mean, 100%. But yeah, but Russia did, as we were recording last time, launch its largest aerial attack on Ukraine since their first invasion in 2022. So Trump said Putin's crazy. Like, I don't know what he's doing, killing a lot of people. Again, like we've said, Trump has always said he wants people to stop dying. Kremlin shot back and said that Trump was just being emotional. So that relationship doesn't sound real great right now. Germany is going to give new missiles to Ukraine, so we're not sending that, but Germany is. And they're taking the range limitation off of those weapons.
Well, I think this is proving what Trump has been saying all along. Once the United States stops supporting Ukraine financially, other European countries are going to have to step up.
Mm-hmm. If they want to.
If they want to.
Yeah.
So apparently Ukraine fired some sort of drone in the flight path of Putin's helicopter. Now, it's so hard to tell what's true and what's not.
Sure.
Even the sources that were putting that out were kind of iffy. And it's like, okay, I'm not sure if this is coming from Russia or if this is coming from Ukraine, if this is coming from an individual, like an independent source that's in Ukraine. So it's one of those things where it's like the truth has got to be somewhere in there. But I then saw that Germany did. So there's got to be some truth to it. Did what you just said. Mm-hmm. And I just think that we can no longer be the world police. And we don't need to be the world police anymore. We just need to keep our finger slightly on it. That's it.
Sure.
Just keep your thumb there. And then continue to try to work out a peace.
And Russia is a major power, right? So, and they're a nuclear power, right? And like you say, what happens if everything they do in Ukraine goes completely unchecked? Like we are completely apathetic to it, which is also not the right answer. And then they go towards a NATO country. Like then what's our response? So, like you say, protect our interests first, but you have to be aware. I don't know what's going to happen next there. I really thought, but now with Trump saying what he said about Putin, maybe is he calling for new leadership in Russia, which I don't think this ends without new leadership being on one side. I just really thought it would be Ukraine. And I still really think that. I still put it like at least 80-20 that there's new leadership in Ukraine and that's how the conflict is resolved.
There's definitely not going to be new leadership in Russia.
I know.
Not
until
unless
their people get tired of it.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting.
They got their hands slapped so bad after the Cold War and the wall falling that I feel like most of Russia is saying, no, we cannot back down again. And so that's why I don't think their people are going to get tired of it.
Right. Well, and they can just continue to stay right where they are. And as long as nobody really does anything, it'll just continue to be the same. But Trump has to be very careful about how he approaches this from this going forward, especially. I don't think he was being overly emotional in this moment because I believe that he probably really did have a conversation with Putin. Mm-hmm. And they had some sort of a handshake deal like, hey, let me get this worked out. And then Putin did exactly what opposite of what he said he was going to do.
Yeah.
And obviously, being the negotiator that Trump is, that upset him.
And it could very well be that Trump pushed him too far.
Maybe.
And Putin said, I'll show you.
Yeah.
And he did.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Anything else exciting going on this week?
Going to Vegas.
Are you excited?
I am. I love that place.
Kids or no kids?
No kids. We are.
I know you said at one point y'all were going with the kids.
We are taking them next month on our family vacation. We're going to California, and we're going to stop there. A couple cool things like we talked about. We're not normally we see people bring their kids to Vegas, and we're like, "What are you doing?" Not because it's just nothing for them to do. But there is a couple things to do, and so we're going to do a couple of those things, and they'll get to see it. So BattleBots is one of those things which the boys love.
Yeah.
Which is filmed in Vegas, and so we'll do that. But it's not like after this trip we're going to start taking the kids with us to Vegas. Vegas is kind of our escape. Good food, which people watch. Casinos are beautiful. We'll do an entire day. We'll do nothing but hang out at the pool and eat. That's just a good day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make
sure you're not eating processed food.
No, I'm pretty sure it's processed, but it's not a bad day at all. So I'm excited. It's this week. You know, we plan these trips out pretty far in advance to get good rates and airfare and things like that. And I use points a lot of time for our rooms and stuff, which the further you use that out, the more benefit you get. And so we planned this trip like a few months ago, and I've really been looking forward to it. It's kind of like, my wife's a teacher and we don't really travel at all during the school year.
Right.
We push everything kind of to the summertime, which makes sense. Teachers don't get a lot of days off. And flying to Vegas is not really a fun trip if you have to leave after school on Friday and come back Sunday night. That's a really, really fast trip. We've done that before. We did that to go see a Maroon 5 concert, but we don't like doing that. So I've been looking forward to like school getting out and taking this trip. So it's like we're recording on Monday. We got a couple days. We fly out Thursday, and I'm ready to go.
Yep. I wanted to. One more thing. Go ahead.
I was just saying I got one more exciting thing. Indoor soccer started this past weekend.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Son got a hat trick.
Nice.
And his words and the words of his generation, he cooked.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He also enjoyed it because he got to be reunited with a kid that he played with on a team a couple teams ago. But then they moved teams and stuff, so he got to play with him. And it was really cute because they were like, peas in a pod right over again. So
right.
Each time he scored, it was off an assist from his friend.
Nice.
And so you would see them. They were usually always in together. You'd see them going down the pitch, as it's called. I don't know if it's indoor, it's still called a pitch because it's.
I have no idea.
Who knows? I don't know. I watched Ted Lasso, and basically parallel towards the goal, passing between each other as defenders would try to come pursue them, and then he would score, and then they'd turn around, slap hands, and go back to the middle of the field.
Nice.
It was and
nice.
Indoor. I know there's probably people watching. They're like, "Ooh, soccer. We don't like soccer. Soccer." I love it. Indoor is really exciting.
Yeah, I not a big fan of soccer to watch, but I enjoy watching my kids do anything.
Yeah.
Typically playing tiddlywinks. Don't care.
I'll tell you this:
It's fun for
like,
me.
if you watch indoor soccer, like we talked about, like I think I could hang out there on a Saturday and just watch
for
games
sure.
all day because
For
it's faster paced. There's no out. Everything's off the walls, so it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot faster paced. We're going to surpass a couple of milestones for the podcast. I want to kind of thank you for all the hard work that you've done and doing that. We've officially finished up our 30th episode.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've had a few shorter ones and point ones and point twos in there. And we're going to surpass a big download milestone. Mm-hmm. It didn't happen today. We were really close, but really close. I appreciate everybody that listens.
Yes.
Family that supports us, our spouses, our wives that support us in our adventure. This has gotten even more traction than I ever would have imagined. I just figured you and I would just kind of sit here and talk for an hour and a half, 2 hours every Monday, and nobody would ever listen, little less care or give us feedback. But it's important to me. I enjoy this time getting to spend with you, not only my friend, but partner in this, and I really enjoy it. So thank you for your hard work.
No, thank you.
And we'll continue to do it as long as we can, and as long as people continue to listen.
30 episodes in.
30 episodes. So have a great week, man.
See you.